Welcome back to Real Repairs for Real Customers. None of that fake stuff. I hope your day's getting started out well. I had made some stuffed portobello mushrooms last night and had one left over for this morning for the new Breakfast of Champions. We'd like to insert this video this time, which would be of more common interest, I think, than a couple of the previous videos, and that has to do with spot dyeing a carpet. Now, you're probably thinking, well, anybody knows how to dye a carpet, but we're going to take a fresh look at it for you today, and we're going to take the craftsman's viewpoint of spot dyeing a carpet. I think you'll find it very interesting, very easy, very economical, and fun to do. Let's do it. You may recall that we used a concentrated metallic toner to repair this new door panel that had got scratched in the body shop. It is a very strong and durable water-based trim paint. It's one of the greatest products we've had in recent times to handle these trim parts. Here at A.R.T, we're using the same product on carpets. We intermix the metallic colors to repair this carpet that was totally bleached out. Notice we removed the trim on this particular job, which we like to do. We didn't do the one that we're featuring today, though. We left the trim in there on purpose. But you can see what a beautiful job that did in that video. We used the same product as our final step on the video where we removed the red stain from the carpet. So it's true we're using the trim paint in an off-label manner, but for very good reason. This is our target carpet for this time, though. And if we were to describe this, you would probably say it's a gray carpet. But what we really want to do is to describe it in terms of colors that we're going to be adding. We might describe it as a very light value of a yellow-green. Let's see what we have in stock in our high metallic trim paints that is close to this light yellow-green. I have pulled 3 selections out of my metallics just so that we can get a comparison of what our inventory looks like. Now on the left is aluminum, in the middle is titanium, and on the right is a dark gray. We can see right away that that titanium in the middle has the greenish quality that we're looking for. And that's really the only one in my stock that's greenish. So we're going to start with that. Facing the sun, you really can see that green quality in that metallic. Of course, we need to lighten it up. I happen to have some leftover light yellow that I can add to this, just enough to lighten it up. And also, I am adding plastic primer, about 50%. The reason being that the metallics are rather thick, and I want this thinned down in order to shoot it down in between the fibers of the carpet, while still retaining the strength that I'm looking for. So just to recap, I've had about 1 ounce of the metallic. I've had just a little bit of the yellow, light yellow added in there, and about 1 ounce of the plastic primer and cross-linker. And that's enough to do all 3 areas of this carpet. For the initial application, I want a relatively high pressure, but very little paint. The reason for that is the high pressure will actually separate the fibers from one another, And the pressure will also drive that metallic paint down into the roots. So we're not concerned at this point about the surface of the carpet whatsoever. We're just getting down to the roots. It's a very light application, a dusting if you will, so there's no buildup of paint. And of course the reason that the metallic works so well, it's like spraying millions of tiny mirrors onto whatever stain we have. In this case it's a mild red stain. But those mirrors reflect light back so that light never gets to the stain. Any staining is hidden below this layer of millions of tiny mirrors. This initial step uses almost no paint at all. In fact, you probably are finding it difficult to see it even coming out of the gun at this point. You can see the effect in the carpet, but you can't see so much the spray itself. Bear in mind, we will put on a second coat for the surface, but this is the first coat that goes just to the roots of the problem. Also, since this is my very first light spray coat, I get a chance to evaluate the color. And what I'm seeing is I need a little bit of yellow. So after this first coat, I poured the paint out of the gun into a container and I added 3 drops of yellow oxide pigment and 1 drop of green pigment. That's it. I'm just going to strain that back into the cup and spray again because I know that I've bumped up the yellow and the green just a little bit, and we'll spray and see how it works out. I think we have something that we can use. This carpet has its lighter and dark areas anyway, so we have to come up with something that's going to work everywhere. The second application is also a fine mist, and we may hold it back distance and get just a little bit more paint so you can see it spraying in this second coat. But it's ever so light, still at high pressure. So if you use this method, you'll find that the carpet is the softest that you've ever felt after having been dyed. And the reason for that is that typically when other people would spray, they would use an aerosol can, likely, and you get too much paint. And especially, I know a lot of detail shops will just put layer upon layer, and you have beads of paint. Those beads of paint dry, and they form like dried balls of paint. And that's what gives it a really rough texture. And when sprayed with an aerosol, you can still see the stain down in the roots. So you got to pile more on. So this method drives the dye down into the carpet with more pressure than you could get with an aerosol can. You're also putting a lot less paint. You're putting just a minute bit of paint, but it's also covering better. Less paint, way less paint, but greater coverage. And a better soft feel when you're done. Using almost no product. Here we are looking straight down at the carpet behind the front passenger seat. The carpet is worn quite a bit here, so I'm brushing it to see which way opens the carpet up most for our spray. Of course, the trim plate there on the bottom pulls off, but as we mentioned before, I want to leave it here. We want to paint over onto that trim plate just to show you how I clean them off when the need arises. You can't always remove the trim, so it's handy to know how to clean up. I'm just going to leave this in real time so you can see how slow I travel and how I'm looking just to impact the roots. So we're getting good coverage without spraying hardly anything in paint volume, and there's not enough paint there to make the carpet hard. We want to dry between these two coats, of course, because as we mentioned, if you get too much paint wet on wet, it forms beads of paint that end up being hard balls of paint. There's very little more to do here, but as always, it's a good idea to blend out your dye area. That's all we're doing here, spraying a light mist coat on the surface and getting a more uniform appearance blended into the rest of the carpet. Here we're looking straight down at the floor behind the driver's seat. And there's a good bit of wear on this hump too. And it's quite dirty. The dirt's embedded down in there pretty good. So I'm going to also spray down into the roots of that dirt. It's not a good idea usually because when you paint dirt, it just looks like painted dirt, doesn't it? But this is all we're doing for this vehicle. The carpet's been detailed twice, so that's all we're going to expect out of that. Now it's just up to me to touch it up and get it out the door. Here I'm spraying down in the roots of this red stain right next to the plastic, so I'm going to end up spraying the plastic too. There's no need to use masking tape here. It probably won't stick anyway, typically. We're just going to clean that off. And that's easily done if we get right on it quickly. And of course our blending coat. A little bit more paint, still high pressure, just a fog, just a mist. That light spot you see, that's the sun shining through. Now that the carpet is dried, I can slip a Bondo spreader underneath the trim, and that'll let me clean off the trim without bothering the carpet at all. I failed to bring my scuff pad with me, but I have it on the other side. So when we get over there, I'll show you the right way to do it. As you see, the mat is also stained, and it's a little more red than the other stains, a little deeper red. but you'll get to see how well this method works even on those. Now the mat's a little different color than the rest of the carpet, just slightly, but that's okay. We'll touch it up the same. We'll blend it out. Blend it, send it. It's still a good demonstration piece for us to see how well this technique works. So this is what I wanted to show you using the scuff pad here. Just spray some of your cleaner, water-based cleaner, on the scuff pad and just move this right along. Without the scuff pad, it's difficult to get down into the grain of the plastic when you get the overspray on there, but this makes it really slick. And that cleanup you want to get done right away, because this dye is so tenacious that you'll really have difficulty getting that off if you leave that on the plastic for any length of time whatsoever. I'm going to speed right through these next few clips. These are from several years ago, but it shows the same kind of application and just shows you how well this process works. This one is the front passenger's carpet, and you can see it's pretty stained up too, so we have to blend our color around quite a bit. It looks quite new, of course, compared to the surroundings, so we're just going to blend out the entire passenger side. This is our last example. We're going to speed right through it as well. The same technique, everything. Because it's a big spot, we're going to have to blend out the entire carpet on this side. We're not bashful about doing that. On the first example we showed, we used just our 2 ounces of paint, and that was it. Did the whole car. Thanks for watching. As always, I hope you found a little something here that you can use to your great advantage in your business. And we hope to see you with us next time.